What's up, y'all? It's your boy Anaki. How are you doing today? We have Church MHA Season 4 episode 15, 16, My Hero Chapter 393, live reaction and discussion. I hope you guys have been doing well since I've been away. Took your advice and I took last week off. How are you doing? Uh, how's folks doing? What the? What is he? Nah, they did that last week. It said I was private, but I wasn't private. So I'm just gonna double check that in the settings. Because it keeps saying that, which is weird. And then what about my date? So let me know how you guys have been doing. It's been 2 weeks. Let's see. Did I not read Mashal last week? I know the last chapter of Mash was supposed to come out. Let's see. Yeah, Mashal Legend. Sorry. Did I forget to tell you that video? It shouldn't be private. What is it private? Let's see. No. Yeah, it should be. Is it working? Okay. All right, so that just means that there's a random delay on the chat now, which is weird, but I guess we'll live with it. We'll take it. Let's see. Oh my goodness, trying to get back to the chat. All right, let's see. Yep, there it is. Oh, chapter like that, huh? All right, you know what? Maybe I should just start reading it right away because if I don't, there's a chance somebody's just gonna walk in and be like, wow, X happened in the chapter and blah 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 blah. And I'm gonna be like, oh, yay. Thank you for telling me that. I was definitely looking forward to you telling me that instead of getting to read it. This is a great day. And I don't think we want that. Oh yeah, I guess that was the last chapter of Mashal. That's weird. Maybe I didn't finish it. Let me double check. That's weird. Or did they just take it off the site as soon as it finished? Let's see. Let's see. Oh, no, no. I just didn't read it. Okay. No, I don't remember that color page. All right. Other news. I'm gonna go ahead and read the new My Hero chapter. Just wanted to keep up, make sure that was looking good. Let's see. We got J. Michael Holmes, Brandon De La Cruz, Lamar Arrington, Kirk Pokey, Mr. Andrew, Jalen Baxley. I can't believe you've done this. All right, so we got the squad here, and MK the baby, of course. Always here. Got no excuse not to be. Ooh, starting with a flashback. And this looks like an NBA timeline flashback. Say, Toga, we got Twice talking to her. Don't you want the villain name of your own? Indeed. Come to think of it, you and the boss are the only ones here without villain names. Let's name you. It doesn't matter. No, thank you. A villain name adds a bit of class. Vampirius Camilla. Suck, suck, lick a tongue. Twice. Twice. You are a 30-year-old man. You cannot look at a 17-year-old girl and say the phrase sucks up. That's not appropriate, sir. That's not appropriate, sir. You can't do that. Stupid. That's just some crowd-pleasing crap. A holdover from before the quirk registration system. You're one to talk, Dobby, because Dobby means cremation. Let's see. Whose real name we've yet to learn. Okay, yeah, tell him compress. There's basically used to be no difference between heroes and villains. One theory says the alias stuff started when you'd have an anonymous enemy and needed to call them something. From there, some decided to adopt those very nicknames to hide their identities. Assuming another identity like a new skin was a matter of survival, at some point they went all in with the code names ripped straight from comic books. According to this theory, it all started with people announcing themselves by those aliases. That's why the world's turned into a comic book. Anyway, I'm good. The names can be cool and all, but hey, yay! That's why I joined the league. Life's too hard. I want to live as Himiko Toga. I also want to point out that there's a bit of an irony to Tomura Shigaraki being like, villain names or whatever, you know, there's just something that people choose when in reality, he's been living by a villain name since he was 5 years old. Obviously, he just doesn't realize that at that particular juncture of the flashback because his memories are all clouded, but still. Your rules tell you to pity me, but don't you dare, as she rips the knife that she just stabbed Ochako with out. Uh-oh. What did somebody do in the live chat? Yep. Let's see. What's funny is that in the scenes twice says bloody kiss and Pikachu instead of whatever he said in officials. Scans was probably trying to save that one. I don't see Twice making Pokemon references, or not like that anyway. Not like Pikachu in Bloody Kiss. I don't know. I love how the whole mask thing connects with Toga's backstory. Yeah, it's central to who she is. She's been fighting mask her whole life, so the idea of her putting one on just ain't it. It's not pity. She touched me, but if I'm floating, so what? No risk there. You know, just the right things to say, But in the end, you'll toss me into a cage on death row, won't you? Or you'll murder me outright, like they did, just like they did to Jin. It's win or lose, live or die. A winner takes all survival match. No going back now. We see that she's coming out of the Twice form. I don't know if that's because the blood is expiring or because she wants to specifically look at Ochako. Ooh. That seems like the obvious truth for us both. And you can see little tingles on Ochako's fingers. If it's really not pity, then it's just your ego talking. And if our egos are clashing, then sad man's legion. Your dead meat hero. Let me see the Ochako, Pixie Bob. Ooh, does that mean Pixie Bob actually died in the sad man's parade or got fucked up? Well, we'll see. And then we see a bunch. Let's see. Jiro. Okay, there's Pixie Bob. Some more. Let's see. Hound Dog. Kami Woods. A dude with some balls. The rest of these look like minor heroes that we've seen before but aren't that important. So good to know we're getting crushed. Have you ever seen such a thing? Quirks will grow stronger with every generation until no one can control them. Over the years, we've often heard the whispers of that doomsday theory. Well, here it is, coming to a head this day. This one girl, her emotions are transforming the very world. Go on, crush her. Gunhead martial arts. And we see her grab stepping through every single one of them. So what if we're floating? There's no damage done. Exactly. My zero gravity isn't a power for hurting people. I would never feel happy about dropping a person out of the sky. If it's really not pity, then it's just your ego talking. And let's see. Oh, wait, is that her feet now? Let's see. He's coughing up more blood because she's been stabbed in the fucking abdomen. Ego, huh? You may be right. You've intentionally killed people, and I can't wipe your slate clean. Yet when I see your face, it's like you had no choice. I figure there must have been a reason. That's my baby. Because that day when the world got turned upside down, what I said made you look so sad. You were the sad one. I mean, they're both sad. We both were. Listen to me, Himiko Toga. You seriously scared the crap out of me when we first met because I didn't understand you back then. Given the situation, how could a grin like that, such a genuine smile, shut up. You'll live as Himiko Toga. Sounds great. Drop all the bodies you like and become whoever the hell you want. Stop making that creepy smile. Just die. Why won't you die already? I know I pushed you away that one time, and maybe this world isn't a place you can be yourself. Just your ego. I know all that, yet even so, I've observed so many, and we get that flashback again of the eel boy, R.I.P. eel boy. So many happy faces in my time. But being able to declare what you love and do it with your whole face, well, that smile of yours is so perfect that I'm honestly jealous, you hear me? Like some sort of deviant. And I don't want to pretend I never saw your amazing smile. Is she about to Chibaku Tensei them? Because I'm seeing little sparks, and she's got her hand forward. Float. I'm floating, but Uraraka never touched me. It's like it's spread between the bodies that come into contact. This one girl. Look, I can't erase all your crimes or approve of everything you've done, but if any part of you still feels like talking with me, you can have a lifetime's worth of my blood. So let's have that chat about romance. Himiko Toga. All right. Let me see if the bishops want to pull up for this one. But we gotta, there's something we gotta talk about besides the Chibaku Tensei. There's something even more important than that I wanna talk about now, because this also gives me a feeling that Toya's story has more to come, because with the nature of this chapter, there's something that was missing. And maybe I need to just like reread some of the stuff, because I guess it did technically happen in the first battle. But there's something about this particularly that I think is a little fascinating in regards to how I expect stuff to go down with Shigaraki and Deku. Tobafu said she could always spread her zero gravity a bit. She touched people's clothes and floated their whole body before, but now she got a whole gravity field. I think it's also worth noting that, like, at the end of the day, when Bakugo was like creating or when she did the meteor shower, it was like her kind of just tapping a bunch of stuff. It's not like she was going 64 poems. At least nothing in the story suggests that she was 64 poeming the debris as it was flying off after Bakugo smashed the ground. And she kept touching it, so obviously she had to keep recreating those fields. So if anything, it's kind of like this is like a more powerful manifestation. I think we need more backstory and power with the family, but with the thing with the Toya thing is that I feel like when we got the NG stuff, it was only we didn't get a lot of emphasis on the child between him and Shoto when Shoto got there. We got that childhood flashback or like that child form for when he was getting the like attention. And so part of me feels like there almost has to be some kind of flashback to show the possibility of the whole Todoroki family happy, even if Toya still is dying right after. That's just something that I feel like is kind of implied with the situation.
Andrew
just like,
sent a super chat as well.
Oh, Andrew came through. It's like Barney always says, let Hori cook. I mean, Hori should always be allowed to cook. He should.
Sadly, he is not allowed to. But
hey,
here,
Thomas.
he cooked. Hello. Giorno is also here. Hey, Giorno.
Hey, what's up?
You know what's crazy? This week, or at least before we got this chapter through the leaks, people were on Hori's ass about being a quote-unquote misogynist. Like, people weren't happy with how Uraraka was handled last chapter, the same with Tolga. I kind of feel like those people who were pushing that agenda or that opinion kind of got disproven with this chapter.
Were they upset because she got stabbed? Because
yeah,
they talked about something they've always talked about.
I'd assume so.
That's wild. I like Ochako's my favorite character, and I was hyped when she got stabbed. Like I want these other characters to get the treatment that these other heroes got.
The thing that I think is kind of funny about that is that I think Volt kind of put it best last stream where he said Horikoshi won't just give you the good moment, you're going to have to suffer for it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is good.
Which goes back to one of the things that I talked about, which is that I don't expect anybody on the hero side to be getting a, quote, pie in the sky happy ending. Like, Jiro got a happy ending out of her fight against All For One, right? Like, technically, she got a happy ending out of that fight. She survived. She went toe-to-toe with All For One.
Mm-hmm.
But she did not defeat him. She survived him. And she did not come out of that without losing one of her ears, which means she also came out of that partially nerfed.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how it is. Shoto gets this big moment where he flies across the country with Ida to go stop, his big brother. But it doesn't look like Toya's necessarily going to be living after this. And it's not like he's getting to have like a completely healthy family environment, because this is just one new big trauma and one new set of scars for the whole family. So there's not like a real happiness to that. Even if Bakugo lives through the stuff and he gets to fight alongside Deku and they get to truly fight as equals next to each other or whatever, ultimately, he will know that his moment came at the cost of another hero's life.
Mm-hmm.
He will know that, like, All Might was put into a weird position because of him getting kidnapped. Deadshot ended up dying because he took that massive injury. He will know that multiple heroes cut their careers short in some fashion.
For him.
Mm-hmm. And he's all about total victory.
Mm-hmm. I think what really makes a stab last chapter so impactful, not only is it because it the injury carried on into this chapter with the blood spewing, but compare this to Bakugo getting stabbed by Vestige for one. Bakugo has always been in a different level of power. Uraraka, until that quote unquote quirk awakening, she's a street level fighter. She is straight up not even she's building level compared to Bakugo, who is city level at best. It's more impactful. We get to see Deku getting stabbed by a knife. We know he's going to survive because it's Deku. It's one for all. It's his body. Uraraka isn't like all these other heroes like Endeavor or All Might or Deku or Bakugo or Shoto. Like that will carry on through her life, that injury, because she got stabbed in a place that, that a lot of people wouldn't survive.
And I think that's something that a lot of people just have to kind of process is that. And I think it's interesting that oftentimes one of the things that people want is like, oh, people have to die. But it's like, at the same time, when you see somebody get maimed, people are upset, which I guess maybe those are just like two different groups, right? Some people never want anything bad to happen to the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, ooh, protect the babies, which I actually think is a slightly more defensible stance, a respectable opinion than I need to see children die. Because
I need to see them fucked up.
Because like when you like, I feel like some of these opinions that people have, and like every now and then, I think I've heard some people try to say it on a stream once, and they're like, "This gonna sound messed up, but I need some of the kids to die," and it's like, yeah, because that is kind of messed up, buddy.
I think it's like you could have like the opinion that, oh, I want some of the kids to go through some type of injury because battle damage in shonen is cool. Like Jiro getting her left ear like completely erased, but still having the strength to fight back even with 50% for a quirk, that's cool. But wanting Jiro to get killed is another, like that's just a step beyond that. That's where I'm going to be like, but why? Like we have about Lady Midnight, although she's dead already, but you get what I mean. Like All Might, Endeavor, like they're right there.
Yeah.
All deaths should neatly tie up a character arc or a character's journey. So like Twice's death for his personal character, I think was a beautiful bow. His character's impact is allowed to stay prevalent though.
Mm-hmm. Bless you.
Oh.
Sorry, y'all. It's allergy season. So
you're fine.
Twice's character, though, is allowed to have these like small moments that just give us further insight into how other people felt about him. But Twice's journey of leaving the world is a byproduct of the fact that he was cast out from it from the time he was basically like 6-7 years old when he was a kid. Once he lost his parents and had no family, Twice was already doomed to be cast out from the world. Mm-hmm. So as he goes through his life and he reaches that end point, dying from betrayal, but like he died how he lived, trying to find a place, trusting and loving the people who show him affection and valuing those who try to create closeness with him. Did that cost him his life in the form of Hawks betraying him? Yes. But he also died getting that news to Toga, making sure that the League knew what happened so that they could escape and hopefully, be safe.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like his death was just like this crazy shock value moment. It was designed to build up and also show us that the villains were going to take a turning point to being harder and more aggressive. Because like the League of Villains, up until that point in the story, is kind of seen as like this really buddy faction. And like, yeah, you have NBA where they go hard and they kill and they do all this other stuff. But it's real easy. Like, despite the bodies, I think it's easier to like ooh-fy the League of Villains than it is like, or the Villain Academia villains in that section of the story versus who they become after the Paranormal Liberation War. Because after the Paranormal Liberation War, almost all of them are like doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on being like, fuck it, I'll be a monster if that means getting these dreams accomplished. I'll kill as many civilians as it takes. I'm going to just go out and I'm going to cause chaos. Whereas before, there was a bit of a touch and go to that. They were just like, we want people to think. And now they're just like, yeah, fuck it, it's war.
Mm.
And Twice's death is like one of the catalysts for that, I believe, in their personality changes, or like them taking that extra step to be like, nah, it's all out now. Because they could have just been like, yeah, we're just going to run things in the shadow now. We got off one back, blah, blah, blah. But no, they're like, nope, war it is. We're fine with it. AFO wants to go to war. We'll go to war with AFO. Shigaraki's under his control. We don't care. We're going for it. We're riding. We're going to stay close to him, and we're going to ride out.
Mhm. I do have a question for you too. Because obviously, like, one of the big talking points of this chapter was the last page, like Uraraka's big like boost in power. How do you feel about Uraraka awakening it right here as opposed like before? Because I've seen a lot of people propose like we could have had this before this war, or like I believe Coyote said that he believed like it should have happened during Deku Black to help Deku, but I didn't really agree. I felt like it was more perfect here. I just want to know your opinions.
So I kind of feel like if it happens during Deku Black, you have to completely restructure that arc to make it where she's like traveling with him or something like that. Because if she just pops that and like distorts everything, I guess it could make an interesting, like, as far as like cinematography, like an interesting shot of like the whole class like floating and trying to write their bearings. But I also think that Deku could specifically practiced with her float when he was practicing his float. So in that case, it kind of just makes it where he's just going to leave. And he's got that option to do so, and he's better equipped to do so than the other kids. So from that angle, I'm like, I actually, I like that arc. I like how it was structured. I like the point of that arc. So for me, I don't want to, like, I could see it happening, but I think I think this is like the perfect time for it. I think letting her kind of create this field and really start to pop now instead of, way back then is probably better. Oh, and we got a super chat. Feels like people have the mentality that it's a war, so people have to die. I feel that way because they never read a series where people have long-term injury. I also think that's true. I think a lot of series don't do real long-term injuries. So, and like, this isn't to shade Naruto. Like, understand, I'm not making fun of Naruto here. I just want to use it as a quick example because you see Lee take what is expected to be a career-ending injury, and then it just isn't. Like, so a lot of series when people get injured, it's like, oh, they got injured, but they can't do as much. Whereas My Hero always makes the injuries a part of the plot going forward. For example, there is no world where Eraser, like if Eraser has both his eyes working, Monoma doesn't go to the top of UA.
Nope.
Like, there's a chance that Aizawa still takes that approach of like staying outside the battlefield, but he doesn't bring Monoma there. So he has to put a student in danger because he lost an eye.
I mean, you could also use Tensei as a great example. Like, Tensei, his career got ruined. Like, he can't be a hero anymore because of Stain. Like, injuries in My Hero, even if it's not perfect, even if Hori's like sometimes doesn't make the right decision, like, he still takes them seriously. Like Tensei, Aizara, Deku, Bakugo, like, you can give better examples, but like those are the ones that came to mind.
And honestly,
Giorno,
yeah.
What was your opinion on Uraraka's like power boost?
I mean, I love it where it's at. I think, like Tyler mentioned it best in the chat, like pretty much this moment is getting live streamed. So all like Shoto saving Dabi, saving the family, that's live streamed. Deku and Shigaraki is getting live streamed. And now Ochako's having her biggest moment, here live streamed to the world. And again, it goes with the whole reaching out to a villain. So everyone around the world is watching her and these other students reach out to these villains and have this big awakening here, despite the situation. So I think it works perfectly here more anywhere else. Also, I did want to counter a little bit to Andrew's super chat. like I do agree to some degree, but I don't think it's crazy to, this is a true blue like war arc in comparison to the first war, which was more so villains got jumped. It's a raid. We understand it's more so a mission. I don't think it's crazy to kind of expect or want some adult heroes to die kind of in this one, especially since this is the final arc and it's very much this is the final, big battle of My Hero Academia.
Mhm.
Oh, the other thing that I want to address is that My Hero is one of the series that actually has fairly competent adults.
Mhm.
A lot of shows or a lot of series, when you think about it, like they're like the next generation, the next generation. And like the previous era sometimes is kind of ass.
Yeah.
And this is something
Oh
that
yeah, like blatantly, like the author really needs to hype up the main cast, which I get it, but they have a hard time doing that without making the adults look kind of useless. And in this series, I think Horikoshi struck a good balance where he established that actually a good chunk of the hero force is actually pretty useless because like they're just in it for the fame. And there's like there's an over influx, but the actual system like that trains heroes, that's fine. Like I think that's the difference.
and this is something that again I'll say when we talked about this on the reboot stream where the post My Hero jump has been like it's like Jump went in a different direction after My Hero, and like we got a lot better adult cast since.
Mhm.
But like if you think about Naruto, like Kakashi and Guy were like the only two adults that were really allowed to pop off in the first half, and then Asuma kind of gets to pop off, but he dies, right?
Yeah.
Like,
And Kakashi even like it's kind of a joke, but it's true. He does not win a single fight in the series.
You can also look at Tsunade, who like Tsunade started off really promising. Like people adored her. She was great. She had a great story. And then she kind of like soccer was her only reason for relevancy.
Yeah. Kishimoto knows how to write like two types of female characters, like very loud, abrasive type A personalities, or very quiet and demure more type B personalities. And that's like there's no real in between. They just kind of fit into those two archetypes.
Mhm.
And like I was talking to this with a friend, but I don't think Kishimoto really gets relationships, or at least how to write them, because like he sort of gets in some capacities, but I think his best relationships are the ones that are kind of out of focus, so you can fill in some of the details on your own.
Mhm.
But anyway, that's another discussion. In this
Yeah.
series, like they
go
threw
ahead.
the adults at the problem first and foremost, like, and that's what happened to lead into this war, where they have no choice but to use the students because they wiped out so much of their force the first time around. It's like it's just a question of numbers.
Mhm.
And it's worth noting that like the children weren't thrown at the problem until like even now they're not really being thrown at the problem. They're begrudgingly, as far as the adults are concerned, being incorporated to deal with the problem. Because if you look at every juncture of this story, to a certain degree, I would say My Hero is the story that I feel the next generation has earned their spot the most.
Yeah.
Because we have not until this final war them finally having to like getting to be like big players, movers and shakers. Because they're a PLW where Bakugo and Deku popping off against Shigaraki. Yes, Deku more than Bakugo, but
They didn't want him there.
I don't think the anime did it quite justice because like Bakugo ground bounced Shigaraki in the manga with that gauntlet blast. He was like it was looking kind of tough. Like Shigaraki wasn't ready for that smoke, and that was a good thing. Like that's like everybody was looking in awe, like, wait, that kid can have that kind of output. Like Rocklock was sitting there like, damn, he's still a kid, but I can't do that. I can't
Yeah,
do
like
anything on the level
All
of
I
that.
can do is stick stuff in place.
Yeah.
Like I can't do
whatever
that.
whatever my issues with it, I think also Black Clover does a pretty decent job of showing the next generation earning their place.
Yes.
Just the latest chapter I read, I was like, okay, this is good. Like I can't cap. It's really good.
I do think
Yep.
Tabata has like he does stumble with a few characters, aka for Gilligan. But yeah, like Tabata does have it unlocked compared to like his predecessors.
Yeah.
And even that's why I really say like like MHA and Beyond in Jump is a different breed when it comes to handling like the changing of the guard in comparison to like the older series.
Yeah.
Because like even look at JJK where
Oh, yeah.
like yes, Yuji's like a special counter to Mahito, but like Yuji being the special counter to Mahito meant a bunch of people getting their shit kicked by Mahito because he wasn't actually ready to be fighting that dude.
Yeah. He still needed like assists in both times he encountered him. Like, and only like at the very end did he manage to beat his dragon form, because it was like they were in a spot where Mahito couldn't touch anybody else.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, I can go to town on you. As far as this chapter goes, I just want to mention, because I am leaving for family event in like 30.
Yeah,
But this chapter is like, you guys know how big of a fan of Ochako I am. So this chapter
you
was
are?
like,
Ain't
yeah,
no way.
I don't know if you noticed.
Ain't no way.
I
I
don't know
never,
if you've
I never do
noticed.
that.
I've been very low key about it. Anyways, it was very affirming for me as somebody who has really appreciated her character and where she's gone, to see this chapter really touch on a lot of core components to her. And it's like, yes, it's her crush on Deku. Yes, that is part of her, but I don't think people understand that that's not just, oh, girl likes boy and so she serves as the love interest. It's like, okay, that's part of it, because that's just kind of basic structure for this type of story. But more than that, My Hero is about acceptance. It's like it's about accepting who people are. That's why quirks are called individuality in the original Japanese, because it's literally who you are. That's why the main villain of the series, AFO, is somebody who just takes those identities for himself in the hopes of bolstering his own, because he doesn't really have one. So for Ochako to say in that page where she's talking about like how jealous she is of Toga, for her to say that she's ready to accept that what she loves and say it for everybody to hear, that's her accepting that yes, she does love Deku, because she realized that very early on, but accepting that was a different deal.
Okay, so you took that as there's a confession coming too.
Absolutely. It's
okay,
like,
yeah, that's how I interpreted that.
Like, and I like how upfront it is without having to actually directly say it. It's like it's very easy to read between the lines, because it's gonna be so much more powerful. Like that she's gone this entire series without really saying those words, I love you. And then at the end of all of this, again, that theme of acceptance, where her and Deku get to see each other, having undergone this coming of age journey out the other side and able to be together as basically adults. I mean, they're not fully adults yet in a practical sense, of course, but it's like for the themes of the story, that's very much what it's leaning towards. This is a coming of age tale. And then everything with Toga. I always scratch my head when I see people take the treatment of villains as indicative of redemption, because that's a very it's a very binary way of viewing things, and MHA has gone out of its way to decry that binary viewpoint. It's like, look, it's not as simple as heroes are always right and villains are always bad. you do have to acknowledge the hero's role in accelerating and continuing the cycle of villainy. And so what Ochako and the other kids are doing with these attempts to reach their respective antagonists is to acknowledge that cycle is happening and stop it like right where the worst symptoms of it are occurring. So like, and I think that's another right thing. MHA actually tackles the core problem in the setting. Like I've seen a lot of series that bring up the problem and are like, okay, well, we're gonna move on. Because it's like it's hard for writers to kind of put it in a way that's exciting, or also maybe they don't recognize the problems that they're discussing or like are tantamount and are in a lot of ways bigger than the villains. Because I'm going to tell you this, as dangerous as Shigaraki is, he still pales in comparison to the overall mistreatment that villains suffer, the disenfranchisement, because that keeps leading to more and more villains. Right?
Yep.
So
everything Shigaraki does is more. Shigaraki is a symptom, and until that cause is addressed, because you can't actively maintain something that consistently disenfranchises people and then expect any different results. So there's a quiet type of insidious that I think is arguably just as or more evil to systems like the one that the Hero Commission was putting up. After all, they were still whacking people too. Where instead of actually like trying to make things better to give people incentive and make it so that people don't need to do certain things or aren't as desperate, you just go out and kill people. Like, for example, that like terrorist group, I'm pretty sure all of them look to be mutants. So the question kind of becomes, were they actually a terrorist group or were they somebody who was about to fight back? Because if you're constantly being discriminated against and you want to go take up your fight with somebody that's like the source of the discrimination, at that point, that's just fighting back. Like, it might be seen as terrorism to people who are on the outside looking in, but it's ultimately you having to fight back because otherwise you won't be treated correctly or fairly. And I think that's something that My Hero does a good job of being like, people from these backgrounds are going to go this way if you do not do and fight to rectify those situations. And they're still just people. It consistently emphasizes the humanity of every villain, except All for One, specifically because, which I think is also another funny thing, is if you think about it, All for One is the thing that most mirrors society, right? He's opportunistic. He's prejudiced in the sense that anything that he deems as like a less valuable person, it will be immediately discarded. He's basically like, his goal is to set up super capitalism. Like, he wants to be he's an anarcho-capitalist effectively. And he's the only one who is rarely, if ever, like the only thing you could say humanizes him is his obsession with his little brother. And even that, because it seems so unhealthy, doesn't humanize him. He is the only definitively evil thing in the series.
Yeah, and it's like, and you also notice like once his face is revealed, the threat of All for One just kind of starts diminishing, because like once the mystique is gone, you start to, because like I think around that point is when Shigaraki started like regaining control of his body, right? I think it was it was a couple chapters before All for One revealed his face. So it's like as All for One kind of becomes revealed to us as human himself, and thus he is vulnerable, then Shigaraki proceeds to kind of ascend the ladder and start taking his place. So it's that theme of succession again that you see between like Deku and All Might, Bakugo and Best Jeanist, Shoto and his father. It happens again between Shigaraki and All for One, but kind of in this insidious reverse theme where it's the cycle again of opportunistic taking power that already exists for yourself. And I also want to talk about like they brought up villain names this chapter, and they basically explained it in the way that I always speculated that happened, was like villain names were ultimately not so different from hero names because hey, when quirks were first discovered, there weren't really any heroes. There were like a bunch of vigilantes. So you had your good vigilantes and then you had your bad vigilantes. And so it just became kind of a means of enemies on the battlefield, like
And I
having
think
to.
the other thing they indicated, because he was like, it's a byproduct of the quirk registry. If you think about it, All For One's villain name is just his quirk. Overhauled, the villain name he chose was just his quirk. Cider House Gang, like.
I mean, like, I mean, I mentioned this before, but like, in a roundabout way, Overhaul kind of did become the next AFO because, like, when you really look at how those two are defeated, and yes, the real AFO is still out there, but as far as when they're facing Deku, like they both get absolutely walloped by Deku, like right at the cusp of achieving what they want. And then Shigaraki moves in afterwards and for like a final FU. Like, and he screws them over and takes what they've built for himself. So as far as the villain names go, it's interesting that Deku and Ochako's villains are the ones without hero names. And I think that really speaks to them having to reach out and see them for who they are. Like, because I mean, this chapter as well, they reference like the story of Carmilla, and that's about a homosexual vampire stalking a young noblewoman, I think. And so it's like there is definitely some of that queer coding there. I admit sometimes I think people are stretching it, but like, okay, if you want to see it that way, you're entirely entitled to do so. But this was pretty blatant. Like you can take Toga's story because she is confirmed bisexual as well. Like
I don't know.
you can't.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure she was like hard confirmed, and I can't remember when, but
like she is. Like it's not meant to be concrete, and I think a lot of fans do take it as concrete. But like it's meant to be subtext so that if you want to take something from it, you very much can. And I do think people get a little too upset when people have those interpretations because it's like, I mean, at the end of the day, it is just a story. But at the same time, you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone.
Hey, what's up, Seth?
Hey, Seth. Hey, Joseph.
I hope you can actually hear me somewhat.
you're a bit of a robot, but we'll make it work.
Yeah, we can hear it. We can make it out.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Don't apologize.
Is Seth talking, or is it just quiet?
I think.
No, it was just
I,
quiet.
Yeah.
Okay,
just quiet.
okay. Had to
What?
make sure. All right, so Volk was talking about Ochako and just in general the transparency that is required for her and Deku to take on their villains, because ultimately, and I think all of us can agree here that Deku's final conflict with Shigaraki is kind of going to be an amalgamation of all the stuff we've seen so far.
Yeah.
He's going to have that transparency. He's going to have to see inside. He's going to have to make that sacrifice. He's probably going to lose, like he might just lose an arm, just like how we saw that, Toya lost an arm. We see that like it's going to be built up to like there's going to be physical punishment.
Mhm.
And let's be serious. Shoto was burned up, exhausted. Ochako's getting stabbed. Bakugo got punched in the chest. Got his chest caved in quite literally. We already know Deku's not getting off easy. Deku usually takes more damage than all these people when it comes to fighting. So we know Deku's in for a rough time combat-wise. That's why when we saw him roll through All For One, it was like, yeah, we know that's not the end of that.
I just like
Deku
how,
doesn't just get to beat him down.
like, for all of the debate about ideal society and all that, it's like, fuck is hard. Like,
Hold on.
Deku.
Now you're falling away.
Yeah.
man,
Also, hi everyone. I've been.
Hey, Joseph.
Hey,
Hey, Jessica. Also, Seth, if you want to like write down your like how you feel, we could read it out for you.
yeah, I guess so, huh?
I would like to know your opinion. So if we have to get it through text, that's all I care
what we
about.
gotta do.
We do what we gotta do.
Thanks, I guess.
I
Suffering from success.
yeah.
Just assume it's because you have powerful words, Seth.
Yeah, Zoom is just holding you back.
This phone cost $500. I just
Oh. I do agree. Honestly, like everything that came before, like the Shoto, the Uraraka fight, like they're all precursors for what's gonna happen with Deku. Like I've said it before, Deku and Uraraka walk the same path with heroism. So it is interesting seeing what Hori does with Deku versus Shigaraki, whether he goes down a completely different path and surprises us, or we actually get what we wanted. We get that Vestige World confrontation. We get that talk that we badly needed. And like we've seen like Toga just because like up until now, every hero aside from Deku and Uraraka has just dismissed what the villain has said. Like I said in the server that Endeavor is a good example. Like Endeavor completely just shuts down Shigaraki's speech by saying, "Yeah, who cares? I can fight now. Get ready to get fucked up." But Deku and Uraraka and Shoto are exactly the people that Tomura, Toga, and Dabi need. Like they need them to just express how they feel. Just sad that Dabi didn't get that chance, especially because of his quirk was just completely shutting him down. But Toga is she's the exemption. She's able to discuss with Uraraka. So I want to see that with Shigaraki. I don't want to see Shigaraki get his points that he wants to make just completely shot down. Especially because we know Deku's not that type of person. Yeah, exactly. I can't believe you done this. Yeah, Mario didn't even understand.
He
He completely
apologized.
called him friendless. That too.
I mean, Mirio apologized for calling him friendless. He wasn't. He was trying to figure him out. He wasn't just trying to insult him.
Mhm.
Yeah, he felt generally bad, and
Oh, Seth put in his opinion. Do you have more to say, or is that it?
Oh,
I do have more, but I'll just.
Oh, you sound better now.
Oh, there we
You
go.
get better now. Go ahead, talk.
Chat. Okay. Oh well, yeah. All I said was if you can hear me now, that'd be great. But,
Yeah, we can.
yes.
I don't think people appreciate how difficult it is to get through to the villains. Like literally, Uraraka is built for Toga, but you can't do the same for Deku. Even like you have to get the right match. And so I know people like to clown on other heroes, whether it's well, we were just talking about them actually, like Mirio, Endeavor, or even I guess Hawks versus Twice, if you want to go down that rabbit hole. It's not an easy job, and the villains themselves don't make it easy, but it also makes the story really compelling. So yeah, I don't think people appreciate just how difficult the issue is, and to say nothing of societal fixes, like it's insanely difficult.
I do think people are a little hard on how the hero. It's like a lot of villain stands are unnecessary. Like to me, a little unreasonable in how they expect these heroes to be like psychological lawyers to just change these guys' minds at the drop of a dime. Like that's just not going to happen. Like you don't kill people because you have no conviction. And like if you look at their willingness to kill, the only member of the League of Villains you should have considered capable of being saved is Mr. Compress. Because if you look during NBA, like while Spinner is taking on that horde, he's casually throwing knives into the backs of other people's necks. Like he's not hesitating at all. Which kind of makes Spinner also like one of the most badass members of the league when you think about it. Because he's just like he's not quirked up like Dobby. Like Dobby just cooking a bunch of people because he has a big old AoE pipeline. Yeah, like you gotta be willing to kill people, but like that's not as big of a deal as like somebody whose power is they stick to walls and have a reptilian body, straight up being willing to shank folks and fight with a sword.
I do want to piggyback off what Seth said about like how Uraraka is built to talk to Toga. Like that's like Horikoshi has said that like Toga is made for Uraraka, but a lot of people don't understand it. And I've seen people just completely say, "Oh, without Toga, Uraraka wouldn't be a very interesting character. Without Uraraka, Toga wouldn't be a very interesting character." It's like no shit.
It's-
like that's the point.
And-
like of course the main character isn't going to be compelling when he doesn't have the antagonist. Like hello, like writing 101.
Yeah, it's
Also-
like, I mean, like a character not being as good without another character. It's like you can just say that about anybody, really. Like, oh, Naruto wouldn't be as good of a character without Sasuke. I'm like, that's his main thing is trying to save Sasuke and Naruto. Like, that's, like when you take away the crux of like a character arc or a journey, which very often relates to another character. No, like that's just bad faith because like you're not taking the character as they are, really assessing them. You're just saying, oh, what if I remove this key aspect? It's kind of like when people try to bash the fights in MHA as well. It's like, oh well, they're not as good because it's not like super as, and it's like the implication is that they want them to be more like JJK or Hunter x Hunter or JoJo fights where it's just like
more raw,
like extra stuff piled on. But it's like you're not assessing MHA's action choreography for what it is, because when you compare it to like the superhero comics and even superhero movies, it is very in line with that. But nobody really complains about that type of action for the most part. They complain about execution, but don't care about that type of action. This type of action is the same. So it's like you're just comparing a bunch of things. And I think comparisons between series, like social media has a very bad habit of doing, just it just makes it out to be something that it's not really, because you set up all these standards that, okay, this series doesn't really do that because it's a different style. It's like that's all it is.
I think a lot of shonen fans like view every fight, every choreography that a series can give because of Naruto. Like I feel like if the phrase "spoiled for choice" can fit here, it does, because people look at Naruto and go, why can't every fight be like Naruto? Why can't every person know taijutsu and do like a Obito versus Kakashi? Or why is everyone like, why is Deku doing anything that Rock Lee can do? Like they're both the same character. No, that's not what Hori wants to do. And I agree, it's bad fate.
Actually, like one of my favorite things about the fights in My Hero is that, well, like the fights are storytelling tools. They're like they have a purpose more than just looking cool. Like they all contribute to the plot in their own way. It's like I know like people like to compare like them to the fights in like JJK, but like for the most part, I'm largely not invested in JJK's fights. Like I tend to just sort of skim over the fights themselves, or like I am like deeply invested in every single panel in the My Hero fights.
That's fair. Like I feel like everyone has their own, like, they want this out of the fight, they want that, and that's fine. I just feel like trying to force your love for a specific type of fight onto a series and go, why isn't this series doing what I want? I don't rock with that. Like, if you want like a Naruto-esque fight, go read Sakamoto Days. Go read Sakamoto Days. Like, that will give you
or
what
go
you
read
want.
Naruto. You know, if you
Yeah.
want Naruto fights, go read Naruto.
Yeah, just reread Naruto if you want. Like, that's valid.
No,
I think
that's
a lot of people just want everything to be like this other thing that they like,
Mhm.
and they don't like to engage with the why things go a certain way. They just think this is how I would have wanted it, and it doesn't matter what's trying to be told or the intent behind something.
Mhm.
Because, and like, if we're being honest, some series, like My Hero doesn't do this, right? But a lot of shows, which we end up being able to appreciate it for the spectacle, don't go out of their way to like make sure, like do go out of their way to be like justify everybody being a competent combatant in some form or another. Like,
Mhm.
as much as people joke on Uraraka for spamming gunhead martial arts, I think it only comes off as jarring in the context of MHA because we're like, we know she didn't start off being a gunhead martial artist. So in turn, it's like, damn, she's using this fighting style and like dedicated herself to it after that internship. But it's like, yeah, she did.
Mhm.
Like, none of us are sitting here like, well, there's Goku's 50th Kamehameha wave. We're like, damn, he slid on Kefla's energy blast and Kamehameha her in the face. That's brazy. Like, I think there's something to be said about the fact that My Hero has people level up their arsenal, and that's a part of the story. And it's not just like like they had a training arc and they came up with a new super move. It's like, no, they're having these training arc and developing these super moves, and they're doing it and like reevaluating how they see their power specifically so they can do the role that they're trying to do. Like, usually when people are creating like these super moves, it's specifically like, I just want to get stronger. I need to get stronger. But in this case, it's I need to figure out how to do my job better.
Mhm.
And like different, like Shoto's cold fire, he technically could have spent all this time learning how to just use his eyesight and flame side better and not worrying about creating a combo move. But he wanted to take that power to a next step so that he could find a way to counter Dabi, but also in general have a better, more reliable attack. Like, if you can use the flexibility and like the speed of fire with the cold of ice, that's probably going to be like the most, but like all those moves are way more busted than any individual flash fire or just big wall of ice against something.
Mhm.
Okay, I have to leave soon, so can I
Yeah,
just
let's get
have
these thoughts.
very quick final thoughts? Great chapter, very fulfilling as a big fan of Ochako. Really touches on every component of her character. I love, I love, I love how she's choosing to approach the Toga situation. I love that she's finally accepting that she does love Deku, and like pretty unambiguously so. It's like you see the panel and everything is like, I am ready to say say I love something for everybody to hear. I I think she's down for the count after this, but it's like, what a way to finish off the series. Great ending for her. Although who knows, there's still Kirigiri. As like I think Kirigiri is still a wild card to this entire thing. It's like it's him and Toga are kind of the wild cards. They kind of both have upended things in their own way. And for next time, I'm really looking forward to the conclusion of this plot line. Looks like it's all wrapping up. It's Ochako's resolution is being streamed for the world to see. And yeah, can't wait for what's to come. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Of course.
next time.
Have fun with your family.
Like,
Yep.
enjoy your time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You know what, like, I love about this chapter specifically? It's the what could have been panels. Like the Uraka like turning around to see Toga crying. It's very like 306 or 305 with Deku. And then you have
the kid thing.
yeah, and then you have
Okay,
the panel back with the Dobby fight where you got to see like Dabi surrounded by his family, ex Shoto. And then at the end of this chapter, with like Uraraka lending out her hand for Toga to, use her blood. Like it's very, I love that, like that choice that Hori goes for. It's perfect.
He went really deep on showing Toga how hurt Toga was by her upbringing, only for Uraraka to really just come in with your face. I thought it was beautiful, or something like that. Was
Yeah, her smile, because that's the smile is the thing that her parents. Well, we've already, from when we've seen stuff with her parents, they're always like making fun of her
basically calling
smile.
it cursed.
Yeah,
yes.
Like they shamed that smile every chance they got.
yeah. Sorry for interrupting, Seth.
Oh, no, that's fine. The other thing that was really great was the power meant for saving people. That dialogue, like how Uraraka directly says, "My power is not for hurting people." Like it's just Horikoshi doesn't directly repeat himself, but he's repeating himself, and I love it. It's so good.
It's like poetry; it rhymes.
I
like
brought-
that you said that because it's like because you brought up the 305, 306 Vestige World conversations, and that was the point that Deku chose to make towards the past users. He was like, I understand, like, you started off trying to kill all for one, but I think this power is for saving people, and I want to see if I can do that. Like, if I got to do it, I got to do it, but I at least want to try to save them.
Go ahead.
No, I was sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that, like, I mentioned this in the server, but when Uraraka like comments on her smile and says that, what was it? Let me find it. Well, that smile of yours is so perfect. I'm honestly jealous. You hear me? It's very reminiscent of That Power Is Yours back at the sports festival. Like that was her version. Because like throughout this chapter, you see Uraraka becoming the hero that she admired, which is Deku. Like
I think the paneling's even similar too, isn't it?
Yeah, like the paneling is straight up similar, like Toga's reaction, straight up Shoto's reaction. And even like we've seen throughout the series, like you mentioned, Seth, that Horikoshi doesn't like to repeat himself, but he does in the most perfect ways. Like everything here can be pointed. You can point at different series or points in the series, like the Leonardo DiCaprio scene where he's pointing at the TV. Like it's just like Hori has been doing shout outs to the beginning of the series and throughout, and I love it.
The fact that it all just works, like it's not even, it's a lot of hand, obviously. It's MHA, it's over the top, but like the way it narratively flows perfectly is just incredible. Like just I can't help but gush over it. It's so good.
Absolutely. And if you want to like talk about what you put into the stream chat, like you can, because we can hear you perfectly, because what you said is perfect.
Oh, okay, let me try. Okay, so well, one of the things I said back when we were talking about it is that, as a hero, can you in good conscience risk other people's lives while trying to save the villain? Like that's an extremely difficult issue. Again, it goes back to Hawks versus Twice, but this is literally what's happening right now. Can you help Toga even though she's literally going to stop, or what, she's literally running Sad Man's Parade right now, or Legion, I should say. So that is just an interesting moral issue. In terms of law enforcement, I mean, yeah, we know the answer to that. People are not perfect or ideal, and to keep the peace, sometimes, yeah, you do have to execute justice like right there, and it's wrong, but it's also like, how much can you risk? How many in like tense encounters or whatever? And
it's the utilitarian quandary. Can you just? It's like like how I say Batman is moral to the extent that he's immoral, because, bro, the Joker would have been on a T-shirt after like his second or third attempt breaking out of Gotham or Arkham. Sorry,
Yeah,
Mhm.
no, there's all kinds of perverse incentives out there, and sometimes um like in general, taking justice into your own hands, I don't like that. It's just some things are really difficult, and especially if you're like a hero trying to save people, it's so much easier to just nip the problem in the bud, or well, not necessarily that phrase, but you know what I mean. It's easier to
Mhm.
deal certain issues like that as opposed to like going deeper. And I don't think people appreciate that enough when they criticize the heroes. Like the heroes deserve criticism. It's just like they don't have their work cut out for them
Mhm.
at all, and they suffer every step of the way for it. Which isn't to say the villains don't suffer at all either. They're both just kind of equal in that regard.
I'm actually curious, Seth. What do you think? How do you think the end of Shigaraki should play out? Like, are you kind of for him dying, or do you think the saving works in a sense where he doesn't die?
So that's an interesting question because I don't know. I don't know if Horikoshi can quote unquote. That's my voice going. Actually, not my mic. I don't know if Horikoshi will repeat what's going on with Toga Uraraka. Like I mean, I'd be happy to see it. Um, but like in terms of like telling a story, you want different movements to give you different things. You want different flavors of, you know, you want different flavors of the story. So it looks like things are going as well as they can for Toga. I don't know if you can repeat exactly that again for Shigaraki. Not to say that I think there will be an ideal ending, you know, but I don't know what the shape of that really looks like. Like
Mhm.
who lives and who dies.
Mhm.
At this point, I think everyone's living. I actually, you know what? No, everyone is living. If Dobby is alive, everyone is living. Okay, that's. I think
I got you.
even All for One might stop de-aging when he's like
No.
or something. Like we just might be stuck with baby All for One.
That'd be actually pretty funny. I can't lie.
I could actually see that. Just no one dies. None of the major characters. That said, their body parts will be like littered all over the place. Like they'll be alive. Um,
Mhm.
that is probably how I see things going generally. Like, okay, everyone is going to live. It's just going to be hell afterwards.
Mhm.
In terms of more specifically Deku and Shigaraki, so Shigaraki's power is derived from his hatred. So I think Deku actually, his only out to that fight is going to be him, or it's going to be Shigaraki becoming unable to hate Deku, if that makes sense. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know how things resolve such that Shigaraki is still standing and able to hurt people, because I think he will do that so long as he is able. But I don't know how to like disable him, if that makes sense. Like Dobby is literally a skeleton, so what's he gonna do after this? Like,
Right.
and I have no idea. But
And I,
Shigaraki, his body is such that it's a monster. So like, how do you disable that? Like Deku doesn't have avatar powers here, so
right.
like,
Mhm.
And I
so
asked, oh, sorry, go ahead.
uh, it has to be one for all shenanigans. I think we're going to get a final Vestige World encounter, in my opinion.
Mhm.
I agree.
And all manner of chaos can go down there before Horikoshi is able to resolve things, in my view.
So
Mhm.
Where little Tenko is, I mean, Tenko and Shigaraki are or are not the same person. I'm not sure. Like, that's, I mean, I know Shigaraki himself said they are, and so it's hard to debate that. But I mean, you see it here where Toga, you have little Toga still there. Like everyone has their inner child. So I don't know. Uh, it's hard. It's hard to say. But
Right.
I'm looking to it regardless. I know he'll land it.
Mhm.
And I asked just because like I look at that fight or that conflict, and I just can't see. I know Deku didn't say he wouldn't, but it's hard for me to see Deku coming to the conclusion that he will kill Shigaraki and doing it. But at the same time, I'm also the opinion I don't, like you said, I don't think Shigaraki's living because like we see what he is now. You can't just contain that in Tartarus or in a prison. I think something has to happen there.
Okay, so crack theory. Shigaraki becomes a vestige in Deku's mind, and Shigaraki's body is dead. So Deku traps him in his own mind. You know?
I was gonna
No?
say
It lets him live
Little-
rent
That's
free.
interesting. That's
a
interesting.
little less cracky, but I was gonna say we've seen that the vestiges can become active. So if Shigaraki ends up killing every vestige inside of him, then he just has that body, right? Like, let's say he ends up having to take out every vestige because there's a vestige rebellion, which means
So you
by
mean
default he's destroying
rid of all
his
for one?
quirks.
So like all the quirks inside him basically are
Yeah.
gone?
Yeah.
Because like
I mean-
I could see Shigaraki. If Shigaraki doesn't die, I see him living in a self-imposed exile, or finally becoming like pulling a Sasuke. But like I don't expect him to actually live, because I could see his body going destabilizing because of the Quirk Rebellion or something, and then him dying again.
Wait, so Aniki, if that happens, my question would be: I know Shigaraki said him and Tenko Shimura are this one and the same in terms of what they believe. What would that leave Tenko Shimura, or would that leave the Tomura
Tenko.
Shigaraki we know?
It would lead to Tenko. I think Tenko would also end up destroying the Tomura Shigaraki portion, because on some level, the part of Tenko that is still an All Might rider is still in there. You know, like he was rambling the whole time about like, yeah, compared to All Might, compared to All Might, compared to All Might. So it's kind of clear, you know, he's still like that big All Might fan, or part of him always sees All Might as a standard. So we kind of got to see what Tenko, who has observed what he's grown up to be, and Tenko, who has those feelings of what he could have been, but then also we see Ochako and Toga having this heart-to-heart about how Ochako felt like she had to repress her feelings so that she could be a hero, and Toga was instructed to repress her feelings to fit into the hero society. Similarly, at some point, Deku and Tenko have to have that conversation about growing up in a household where they were told they couldn't be heroes. Which is why I think one of the key components in Dabi's thing is that, you know, he wanted to be a hero to impress his dad and make his dad happy, but that wasn't going to happen. Whereas a dad who was ultimately not there, similar to how Deku's dad isn't actually around ever, and how ultimately he had to overcome that. So you kind of have these emotional roots in both characters that they can talk about, or at least in the vestige world, end up having some kind of discussion about, so they can see where they ended up. And no, I don't see Shigaraki being like, yeah, I'm going to go save people. I kind of moreover see it as like, I could see Shigaraki fighting Deku to test his resolve and letting himself take a fatal blow. That's to me how it would go down. Him taking a fatal blow and just not having the resolve to actually regenerate himself and just letting himself die. That's the way that I see Shigaraki dying, as a form to like redeem himself. Or Decay, you know, since Decay can work on his own body, him eventually just breaking himself down.
I'm just really curious to see what Deku will say to Shigaraki, just in general throughout the fight.
Also, Giorno, I'm curious, what specifically about this chapter made you go, yeah, I got to get on stream?
Oh, I mean, Thomas knows. Literally, I read the chapter on Friday when the scans came out, and as an Ochako stan and a Toga stan, yeah, I knew this chapter was for me. And seeing that Quirk awakening that I wasn't sure we would really get for Ochako, I was like, yeah, I gotta talk about this. You know, if you look in the chat in the server, I've been like hyping up, praising this chapter since Friday. Even Tarnish texted me about the leak saying, you know, Chaco a goat. So I knew that this was just my chapter. This chapter was made for me. So
I won't lie, I was like really I wanted Friday to come because I wanted to hear Giorno's like opinion on the chapter.
man,
I was like, this is a
waiting
Giorno
years.
chapter.
I have waited years for this climax of this conflict, and seeing Ochako in this moment, I was like, yeah, this, you know, it's kind of that bittersweet feeling. Like MHA, we really are in the end game, and it's like I'm happy we're here, but man, it's gonna be sad when this is done.
So I have a question for y'all and in the chat too, because I like to get people's opinions on this. So do you view Toga like, okay, so if Uraka does save Toga, what do you think will happen? Do you believe she's deserving of that savior? Or do you think that she should be locked up? Like this conversation I've had with like a lot of people, with Coyote specifically. It just comes down to like how, like, your morals, I guess, right?
So personally, I think Toga, how do I put this? If she's gonna be locked up, I don't think she needs to be locked up necessarily like in a prison. I think she just needs like some mental health evals and stuff like that. Like she's gonna have to do some form of time, but it should be time that's actually structured around rehabilitation.
Yes.
And if they don't have the means, then she doesn't need to be in prison because that's not gonna fix anything. She should be in a form of rehab where she does have the ability to talk to and connect with the outside world. And if anything, I think that she should be somebody who is used and works with, hopefully, Hawks, if he doesn't die, to overhaul the system and lead to far better rehabilitation and lead to healthier practices for people with quirks that have impact on their personality to such a degree.
Yeah, I think I'd want something similar. Like, as long I do want, obviously she did kill people, so she should be, you know, arrested, detained in some degree. But I think with this chapter especially, I think it's clear that if she does get arrested, she does get, you know, detained, put into prison. I can see Ochako visiting her often. I can see, hell, once she's done with all that, you know, however long that takes, I can see Ochako and Toga actually becoming like best friends. In like the epilogue and after all this is over.
Yeah, pretty much the same as what's been said already for that. And speaking of like post series, like epilogue sort of things, and this sort of ties into her doing the gunhead martial arts in the chapter. You just know that at like post series, Gunhead's gonna just have a gigantic gravity trained here banner attached to his studio, to his dojo, and it is just gonna drive up his business tremendously.
It's the same with her parents. Like her parents are gonna like have a massive boom because of the hero gravity. Bro, it's like, Joseph, like this is perfect. I know, like I'm a big fan of her gravity. Let me go to her parents.
Yep. Bro, Joseph, she even yelled out Gunhead martial arts. That's promoting right there. The whole world can know about Gunhead.
Well, I mean, she wasn't aware that she was promoting, but yeah.
it's accidental promotion.
Yeah. He deserves this.
Yeah, he does. He's so cute.
Yeah, I know. Like, good for him. No, so my thoughts on what happens afterwards. So Horikoshi's certainly gonna follow through on that. I'll give you blood for my whole life thing. So I think that's pretty explicit. Toga will probably be, have to serve some kind of life sentence. The quality of that is hopefully not the worst, but something. Am I hearable? I'm sorry, I'm self-conscious.
No, you're hearable.
Yeah, we can hear you.
You're hearable.
Thank you. All right, so no, so I'm not sure what that looks like, but I do want to comment on just the nature of that. So being a hero, saying the right things, um, people do that online all the time, just spouting off what they think ideal society should be. But what I like about here is that Uraraka makes an actual like lifelong commitment here. Like this is actual action. um, something that she can do, not something that society can do, not something someone else can do. This is something that she herself can do. And that is a really good message in MHA. Like everyone has this kind of potential in them to help somehow, is the thing. People get confused about the hero dialogue, what makes a hero professional, superpowered, fights villains hero versus, you know, society's hero, like your family's hero, or a hero to Toga or a hero to Shigeru. Like there's all kinds of different heroes a person can be. And that's what I really liked about this message more than anything else. And so, yeah, that's my thought on MHA epilogue right now.
Well, then we'll see. This will become the chapter again. Sure.
Me personally, I feel like when you look at characters like Toga, especially because she's a minor, I think someone brought up like teenage killers in Japan, and that is very true. But when you look at like the series My Hero, I feel like Toga herself deserves to be rehabilitated. Like throughout her life, she's been through hell, especially like living on the streets. Like she needs that, like she needs guidance. I feel like what Uraraka has been, telling her and how she's been treating her, like this is what she needed, like forever. Like she needed someone like Uraraka, especially because we look at Tenko. Tenko needed an All Might figure. He needed a Deku, but he did. He got All for One, which is, I wouldn't wish that on anyone, honestly. But the whole like, if any part of you feels like talking to me, you could have a lifetime's worth of blood. Like she needs blood to cope. And I feel like, I don't know who said it in the chat, but they said if she gets locked up, would she still be considered loco? And I feel like that was I Smoked That Fire. Yeah, it was. If she couldn't use her quirk, would she still be loco? Locking her up without considering like her quirk, I feel like that's just torture.
It is. It's basically like, that's why I said any form of lockup she has to be rehabilitative. It can't just be, we're gonna lock you up and throw away the key. You're punished forever. Because that's just how you get a prison ride, or she's just gonna be stuck in Tartarus. Like what? Like Horikoshi didn't have it made clear that Tartarus was not necessarily run by good people for no reason. Right? Like he had the whole they're just monsters, and it's because of quirks that we've blurred the line of what it's acceptable as a human. And like we're up to our eyeballs in human rights violations. Like they're not good people. And you can't put bad people in charge of punishing bad people because they're not gonna care about making the world better. They just want somebody, they're just bullies who have found a platform where they can be bullies and socially acceptable.
Yeah, they can be bullies, they can be accepted for their bullying and also get paid for their bullying.
Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Maybe you need to get some cough medicine to make that more clear. Get a drink too. I agree. Tartarus is like Arkham Asylum, or in real. You're right. It is.
It's not based around fixing the problem. It's based around, like, I don't know if Tartarus is a profit-based prison, but if we find out that somebody was making money off Tartarus, I'm gonna be sick. Hey, little baby, you awake?
Like, I feel like we're in a very, like, the heroes, even though like the spare is a muck, like what will happen after this war is really crucial for the growth of hero society or society in general. Like they have a chance to fix everything now. whether it's fixing Tartarus and reshaping it, or fixing the Hero Commission, like we have a chance to make sure Tartarus doesn't contain the problem anymore. It fixes it.
I would love for Hawks and Nagant to be the new faces of the Hero Commission in terms of steering towards that direction that you're talking about.
Oh, for sure. My question is, do we see Hawks being targeted by Toga next chapter? Because like, where is he going? He's walking somewhere.
I thought he was just kind of standing up because he saw the Toga like clones.
He probably was standing up,
kind of
but
protecting Tokiyami.
he's ready to fight.
Right.
I wonder if Toga is going to chase down Hawks if she sees him, like a kind of a bait and switch with this chapter. Like, we are made to believe, yeah, Toga may reach out her hand and accept Uraraka's offer, but what if she goes and sees Hawks and tries to kill him? Like, a lot can change unless like Hawks gets completely swarmed by Twice clones, which from what we can see in this chapter is quite likely because they're reaching a town, aren't they?
I think so.
Yeah.
Which that would be very
Reaching
poetic.
civilians.
Very poetic for Hawks to be surrounded by Twice clones again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I really want to see, both for Hawks as a character. I want to see that Twice discourse, keep going and follow through. That's what I'm really hoping for. I hope that is sooner rather than later, at least in regards to like resolving this fight. I'm not sure what to expect in that regard, but I do think that I did theorize this on Twitter a while back. The actual handkerchief, that the real one, that was still on the root. Twice still had that. He never gave the real one to Toga. I would like for Hawks to have kept that. Like when he went back to clean up the blood, I would have liked him to take that, because he did promise Twice that he would tell the League how he felt. Because that was the main thing that Hawks wasn't or didn't understand, was that Twice he did not care about himself or his lot in life, which is why from Hawks' perspective, Twice was unlucky. Like that disconnect, I'd like to see that, patched through somehow by the end of
finally getting to understand what it is that Twice was really after. And why. Because like ultimately, I think it's interesting because we all acknowledge that Twice is, in a sense, a victim of society. But his final statement is kind of like him saying, despite the things that made me a victim, I'm not going to see myself this way when I have these friends and these people. So
that goes into the current chapter dialogue too, by the way. Like Toga hated the idea that she'd be pitied by the society that she feels put upon by. Like, you did this to me and now you want to pity me? No, screw you, kind of thing. But Uraraka is able to cut through that, which is so good. Because it's like, yes, you have all these problems around you, but there's something more important than that. And she's able to cut through the heart to who Toga is and comfort her, or at least attempt to comfort her in exactly the way that Toga has always wanted. And that's what I really appreciated about this fight. Like, it is concluding the whole discourse that began with Hawks versus Twice. I just would like to see that also take place with the actual character Hawks. And I know the Twice clones are actually Toga, so Twice is not actually on this battlefield at all. Like, none of these clones are Twice himself. Toga cannot become Twice. That was her whole psychological barrier that she was encountering. But still, I want to see, Hawks be brought in by the end of this conflict as part of the resolution, just hopefully in a way that everyone will like.
Agreed.
It's
So
just
in other words, this chapter is peak.
Yeah.
Yep, there we go.
there's
You're right. You're
reference.
right.
I think we did we actually cover the chapter? I think we,
Oh, I want to bring up like the beginning of the chapter because like I do think like it's great seeing this like MVA timeline like little talk because like this is before Shigaraki had that introspective
Mhm.
in like his battle against Redestro. Like this is a Shigaraki that didn't obviously he grew,
Remember.
but he hasn't gone to his point of knowing Tomo Shigaraki was my villain name. Like this is my villain name. But also just seeing Shigaraki just be happy, like him being like, anyway, I'm good, but the names can be cool and all, but like we've been missing this.
That
Like,
was one of my favorite lines.
What'd you say?
That was one of my favorite lines on the chapter. It's just
Agree.
along with Twice's Pikachu reference and all that. Like they were all great.
Like the compress Adabe, it's like you're one to talk.
Yeah. it's just great seeing the league together.
Yeah, that was great.
I miss them.
Like just Dobby's just chilling on his phone, probably looking at like Endeavor News or something.
He's probably
Exactly.
rewatching the fight. He's probably watching not Kamino, Hosu, like the fight against the Nomu. He's probably like watching compilation of it. Yeah, like I can steal this technique.
Oh yeah, you know he was watching that over and over. Like, oh, I can copy that. I can do that. Oh yeah, there we go. Yep.
Man, I love it. I love this chapter so much. Also, Sandman Legion. Like it's so much better than Sad Woman's Parade that I thought Hori would pull out, but this is just sick.
Nah, Horikoshi would never. He's like, okay, I have all of comic book history to reference here. I don't need to just put "wa" in front of man and just go with it. She is not lazy.
I feel bad for the heroes though. You see like Pixie Bob getting effed up. The same with Tiger.
Yeah, like that was gonna if Ochako didn't do what she just did, that might have been game over for them. For
Yeah,
everyone
they
in that
all would have
location.
died.
Yeah, the ego of one girl changes everything. It just the way Horikoshi uses the media is so good. I love it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thick.
I'm so glad this is being live streamed.
Oh my gosh, yes. I want to know the public's reaction to this so much.
Oh yeah.
I really do, because holy cow, they got everything. Like this is a if it weren't like the fate of the world kind of thing, this is like peak television.
You know
Yeah,
what I
this-
want? You know what I want to see?
That's been so
I want to
stressful.
see. I want to see the Deku versus Shigaraki fight live stream, right? But you see Eri, Kota, Maharo, Katsuma, like they're all watching. Everyone, and like the Fox girl, like the ordinary girl, like
You know
all of
what I
them
wanna
just
see?
watching, hyping them up.
The live chat.
Oh, for sure.
No, Thomas, I need more than that. I need, like, I've been saying this since like for a while now. I think if we don't get a scene of everyone cheering on Deku like they did all
Oh, like
Might,
Kamino. Yeah, absolutely.
like we got to see that. We have to, like, this is oh my god, this is the fate of the world. Deku he's him. Like we got to see that.
The whole like that like clip that Deku watched over and over and over again. I want to see like just one panel of someone adding that to their playlist. Just something like that.
The other thing about this is that I think every stage, I'm trying to remember if the Bakugo getting his chest caved in was a part of the live stream.
I don't know if it was.
No, the business
I don't think it
course-
was.
Yeah, business course student filmed it, but I don't think he was live streaming that. He was just recording.
They gotta cut that out. They gotta
Yeah.
cut that out. Of post.
Yeah, no, that was before La Brava was able to hack in and broadcast it.
But I think that a lot of folks, especially since we have the business, because like I've been saying, it's all a look back for Deku. But I think it's kind of crazy that You know, Deku says the story of how we all became the greatest heroes. And to a certain degree, I think what he's really saying is like, as a collective now, if you're somebody sitting at home and you're watching these live streams and you're seeing all this shit unfold, yeah, you might see Deku beat the shit out of Shigaraki, who was like the biggest threat, but you really could see any of these kids as the greatest hero at this point.
Yes.
Like you could look at Shoto and be like, damn, him and Ida really did that thing, and dude was basically going to turn into a nuke, and he managed to stop that and protect his family, and he really, man, that dude's the greatest. You can look at Ochako and be like, that girl stopped an army, both with her actions and her words. That chick is the greatest. You can look at Deku or Bakugo, like, because if you see Bakugo, like with, which I think that he's gonna have, I genuinely think he's gonna end up with like some kind of chest implant in addition to what he's got.
Like
So he's
a
gonna-
Iron Man, like
yeah,
Tony Stark.
I fully expect him to have some kind of like Iron
Yeah.
Man thing like on top of
Also,
his chest.
I hope he has like a cool face guard too, since he got like slashed.
So,
Absolutely.
but like you might see that and be like, that kid got his chest caved in
And he came
stood
back.
up.
Yeah.
That is the greatest hero. So like you have
I was
all
about to
these
come back like
reasons
Jesus.
to look at these characters and be like,
Mm-hmm.
that could be the greatest hero in the world right there.
Because up until now, you've seen like characters show like they're fans of specific like heroes. Like you obviously have the grand majority of the kids who are like All Might stands, like Shoto, Deku, Bakugo. But then you have kids like Katsuma, who's an Edgeshot fan, which, by the way, rest in peace. Katsuma's gonna have his heart broken. But then you have Rebozo. But then you have Hawks, who's like a massive Endeavor fan, the same with Kanchisi Kid. But now you have like all these kids, all these like pros who are going to have their own huge fan bases, and that's just great. Like Deku's not going to be the symbol of peace, like the biggest hero in the world. Essentially, every big player here has that chance. Like Endeavor was born in the wrong generation. Like if Endeavor was born in like around the time with Deku, like he could have had that chance.
Yeah, he would have been seen as one of those guys instead of
Yeah.
not that guy.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what he was seen as, not that guy.
Mhm.
Because All Might's that guy. You're not that guy.
But now everyone can be that guy.
I
I
do-
do
especially
still
Mineta.
want Deku. I still want Deku to kind of be a cut above the rest.
Yeah,
in
for
that
sure,
sense,
absolutely.
You know,
This is Deku's story, after all. Like he will be like remembered as the one who's like a step above the rest, but everyone has their fighting chance. Because I've seen a lot of people argue throughout the years, like how are the 1A students gonna keep up with Deku? Like he's so strong, like he's so overpowered. It's like this is how they keep up. Like My Hero was never meant to be like your Naruto or your One Piece or your Dragon Ball, where one character is like the strongest. Like they are the character you look towards the most. Every character here has that chance to be that person, to be that Goku, to be that Naruto.
No, I love that you said that. MHA really is anti-power scaling because
Exactly.
Uraraka beat Toga with a power that is not meant to hurt people. Like, guys, come on, you please understand. It is not about the power scaling at all.
Yeah, look, I'm looking at you, One Piece community. Like your god doesn't care about power scaling.
Nah, Oda is just chilling. Like he is not taking this nearly as seriously as any. I mean, you could say that about any mangaka, but like, no, Oda is just having his best life.
He's living his best life, and I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Because like the biggest power up in the series is just fuck power scaling.
right. No, Luffy becomes cartoon, has cartoon superpowers. Like,
Man, I'm so sad that they're not gonna have like some kind of old timey guy work on the episode. I really wanted the Gear 5 episodes, and when I saw that rumor fly around, to actually have like somebody from Warner Brothers who was used to doing that old stuff come in. And
I want that episode to end with that's all, folks. Like Luffy
Please.
pops out of like the episode, he pulls down like like the sheet, like you know how Yuta pulls like the sky in that one chapter, and he just talks to the fans and be like, "That's all for this chapter."
Gotta have it.
That'd be so like. I'm gonna be honest. That would make One Piece just the solid 6 out of 10 that is.
What's funny about it though is that like you keep seeing all these like Gear 5's transformation is gonna top. Which one of the things that I saw somebody be like, "Oh, it's gonna top Super Saiyan." It already has. That's why you see people talk about it more. And I'm like, bro, you see people talk about it more because Twitter didn't exist when Goku first went Super Saiyan. The fuck are you talking about?
Transformations didn't really were that at all like popular at all.
Yeah, I know. Completely different time periods. All for Better Verse is an old show, so it gets both a lot of benefit of the doubt and also a lot of nostalgia, but it's still also very fun. So like there's nothing quite like it. So you know,
I don't.
What they are.
I just don't understand the competition that like some fans try to make it out to be. Like One Piece is super iconic in its own right. You ain't got to compare it to Super Saiyan.
Do you want to know the real reason this is the case?
Mm-hmm.
For One Piece fans who are, I would say, between like 25 and 35 to 40. Because I think a lot of people forget that like while there's a lot of like obnoxious kids and stuff on the internet that are just being kids, but like the folks who, I'm 30 now, so I'm an old man as far as anime fandom is concerned. I'm an old head. But the thing about this is that I remember the Big Three era. And while One Piece has always been a monster in Japan, One Piece was not that guy over in the States for a very long time. So like a lot of US folks and even some folks in other countries, One Piece outlasted the other two and eventually grabbed more fans from those people. Like, you know what, I'll give it a chance. Naruto just ended. Screw it, I'm gonna do it. And like I grew up watching all three. I mean, the dubs eventually stopped because back then you're either watching it on TV and dub or you're scrounging the internet for something and stuff. But and like Bleach and Naruto were the main ones people cared about because Bleach came on Adult Swim. So you already know that one had people ready to be there and watch it, a Saturday after Toonami.
Yeah, those on like at 2 a.m. or whatever.
So it's on at like, I think it was on at 11 at night, but still, like, you're not getting to see that until late at night because it's got the blood and the slashes and all that other stuff. And then Naruto, which was one of the later shows in the Toonami block too. So it's like One Piece eventually did make it to Toonami, but it wasn't like as crucial to most people. And part of that is because Luffy has a variety of attacks, right? Like I saw somebody talking about like, oh yeah, everybody did command man waves with spirit guns, but it's like nobody on the playground in the 90s and the 2000s going
like gum pistol.
Like,
yeah,
nah, that wasn't happening. We're not gonna pretend it was happening. Like it just wasn't. Like it's just the reality of the situation.
Sadly, I feel like if One Piece got what Bleach and Naruto got, like you would see it because like let's be honest, 4Kids did not do it any favors, sadly. And I like the 4Kids version. I think it's goofy and I think it's fun. Like the One Piece rap still top tier, but
I like the One Piece rap more than any One Piece OP to date.
No, I agree. Like it is top tier.
No,
but I feel
the opening narration, the 4Kids' opening narration is the best version of that narration.
Yeah, they got Brock from Pokemon to do it.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
I actually like Brooklyn accent Sanji.
Yeah, but like
I know that's
very Joey Wheeler.
But I like Brooklyn accent Sanji. And him calling Zeph an old geezer.
You can't help what you've grown up with. No. One Piece was very hard for me to get into as well because of that whole localization issue. Not that I knew what I was it really was just that divide. Like what happened when One Piece went off of that kid block and onto animation, like that transition period, like lost me, unfortunately.
But
Like I was never able to vibe with One Piece, even though I was able to catch up with it. Just something about that binge period, I could not get as invested into it, unfortunately.
and I'll also say that giving Nico Robin a Texan accent was probably a mistake. But
I mean, hey, it matched Miss Sunday at least.
I was gonna say, but I partially gotta blame Oda for fucking putting her in cowboy gear
Yeah.
Yep.
on her introduction.
I'm gonna be honest, like 4Kids was never a thing here. Like if you wanted to watch like anime, you had to like tune into RT2 or RT1. But but I grew up on 4Kids like property. Like Pokemon grew up on that. Yu-Gi-Oh! Grew up on that. Like those made it over here. One Piece did not. Like I did not hear about One Piece until I was like 9.
And,
Like Bleach and Naruto, I knew.
yeah, the funny, like from what I understand, the 4Kids didn't even want One Piece. It's like they wanted something else. I don't even know what the series was, but in order to get it, they had to take One Piece, and then they watched it and realized, oh no, this is not going to work at
You
all.
can't work with this. Like the booze, the smoking, the
violence?
damage. Yeah, the violence. Like pirates are cool. Kids love pirates, but like there's a difference. Like Luffy versus Don Krieg, like you can't really show that to kids. I mean, it'd be kind of cool, but
But yeah, like, hey, look, I still think you should give it a shot.
But this is like part of the reason, like One Piece not catching on internationally to the level that Bleach and Naruto did. That's part of the reason why I think Oda even mentioned this in like in a translated translated page when he was taking a month break or something, that he's helping like focusing that work on the Netflix show, because he considers that the last chance that One Piece has to really get international appeal. And
because a lot of people see like One Piece has like 500 million copies sold or whatever, and they're like, yeah, that's really great. But like, if I'm Oda and I have 500 million volumes sold and 450 million of those are in Japan,
yeah,
that's a pretty rough ratio to feel good about. Whereas I think Naruto was like 70 million in Japan, 50 million abroad while it was running. Like that spread is just different.
yeah, like I think My Heroes is more like that as well, where it does really well in Japan. It also does really, really well in internationally.
Yeah.
There are times where, and I don't know if it's happened recently, but it happened for a couple years, where you would look at like a month's volume, like manga purchases, and then like 10 of them would be like 9 My Hero volumes and a Vigilantes volume were the most purchased manga in the US that month. And it would just happen over and over again. So it's like when you have, like when you're, a successful manga kid, because the thing is that making good art for people who are already thinking like you is easier than making an art that transcends. And I think that for Oda, as much as like, I think any artist, once you get on that stage, you're like, yeah, I'm doing 50 million, but if I'm doing 450 million abroad or at home at 50 million total with hundreds of volumes abroad, there's something I'm not doing that's hitting their ear right. And like you can say like, oh, I don't care about that, but like at the same time, I think you almost have to, right? Like I think everybody has like a bit of that competitive spirit in them. If you have that drive to be the best,
I mean, when you look at
Jump, the sales, it kind of feels like there's an asterisk next to it, Like
when you look at Jump, like Jump is a very competitive like magazine. Like all the manga love each other. Like they are great friends, but obviously when you're trying to get your series out there, if you don't want it to get the axe, if you want it to be popular, you have to reach outside of like your country. You have to reach out to people in China, in Germany, in England, in United States. Like you have to. But for I feel bad for Oda because if he looks over at like Horikoshi or Gege, like their series have that worldwide appeal that One Piece didn't get the chance to get because it got screwed over a lot.
Also, for the person who said Twitter isn't real, the fandom is still the largest internationally of all series from Situation. False. Dragon Ball.
Yeah,
Dragon Ball is still the largest fandom.
it will always be the largest fandom.
Even if it wasn't like, even if it wasn't, Latin America would absolutely make it so. They would go to war for it. Like where like World War IV, we fought from that perspective.
Like Dragon Ball was
you done this.
streamed in streets, like
Latin America's love of Dragon Ball is unmatched.
I don't even know how it happened, but okay, go for it, guys.
Like look at the Macy parade, like like Goku is just flowing around. Like the popularity of Dragon Ball keeps getting downplayed, and like of course not everyone's gonna love Dragon Ball, but you gotta just admit it. Like Dragon Ball has that like love that sure France may love One Piece, but like France ain't competing with Latin America.
Yeah, no, like Super was such an ingenious way to reboot that series. It literally, I mean, literally expanded the universe, incorporated a bunch of characters and designs, and just like I don't like Dragon Ball that much. I get the appeal. I loved it when it was airing on Toonami, and like yes, it's an awesome fun time. But like no, but I have to acknowledge that Super was just such a smart move, even if I'm like done with the series. Like I got what I wanted from it. Super was smart.
So it's been like over 4 years, 5 years, maybe even 6 years since the Tournament of Power ended. First off, we got to acknowledge the fact that people still bring up the Tournament of Power randomly in conversations online.
Yes.
But second off, my buddy and I were roommates between, I want to say 2015 and 2019. That was during the Super Run. And I Smoked That Fire came over a couple times for it. Because, that's one of my IRLs. And
shout out to him.
We would have Super Saturday. And what Super Saturday
that's cool.
Was every Saturday, I'd wait till he got off work. We'd have ourselves an herbal cigarette, eat some chicken wings from this place called Buddy's, and watch the latest Dragon Ball Super episode.
I love that. That's fun.
And then we'd slap on some One Piece, because that's like when he started really watching One Piece is when so we'd have that, and so we'd watch One Piece, eat chicken wings, and have an herbal cigarette, and maybe do some shots. That was just our Saturdays. We just fucking rock out.
Man, it's crazy how that was like 4 years ago too. Like, you better it was like
over 4 years ago.
You better bring back Super Saturdays when it comes back.
Man, well now we hang out on Wednesdays. But
so it'll be like Super Wednesdays. We have to wait until Wednesday. Oh, that's cute. I love that.
So yeah, like Super is something that like Dragon Ball has done something that I think, and it's not like obviously I'm not the only person who had that kind of friendship, but I think Super is something that's kind of like in Dragon Ball in itself is like truly a cultural touchstone for a lot of people. In fact, you got like I mentioned it earlier, but that Goku Kefla Kamehameha wave, I remember it was within that week after that aired. And I was at the bar with my boy Marco with Smoke That Fire. We were at my buddy Jeremy, the bar that my buddy Jeremy was working at. And I think my buddy Dom, who's the one who's my roommate, actually came through. And we were sitting there having drinks, but like every time one of us would like jokingly roast each other, we were like, ha! Like with that Kamehameha.
Oh, that's fun.
Because we're at like it's a bar on a weekday. Like Wisconsin bars can go crazy hard on a weekday, but like I think it was like a
Typically it's
Tuesday or
chill.
some shit. So
I feel like a lot of people give shit to Dragon Ball and other series for being too simple, but there's a lot of like positives for a simple series, especially when it comes to just people bonding. Like people just dog on Demon Slayer for being simple, while writing Dragon Ball, I feel like both are
That's
essential
wild.
to people being, having fun.
like Demon Slayer is one of those shows and series that I genuinely hate that I read the manga because I would have rather have just watched the anime. 'Cause
The anime, yeah.
Yeah.
is so much better than the manga as an experience. And like
I picked it up after the anime ended because I liked it, and then I dropped it because no, why would I turn away? Why would I make that my first experience? Like the way Ufotable is popping off, it's like, no, I don't want to taint this image. Let them do that. Similar.
It's kind of weird for me because at like my biggest complaint with the anime is like because I read the manga after I watched the first season, and the anime at times just feels like false advertising.
yeah.
Oh my god, I hated the entertainment district arc, and I didn't really like it any much better in the anime, but at least it looked pretty in the anime. I mean, I'll give it that.
I really did not like the entertainment district arc. That was actually kind of rough. I felt like that was too much, kind of in multiple aspects. Yes, it looked pretty, but like I was tired of the drama, and like I wasn't really feeling any of the characters. What is it? Zenosuke and
Zenitsu versus
Zenitsu.
Daki.
I don't miss them. I went through the entire third season, and I'm like, I am happy with this cast.
No,
You know what's funny? This is my favorite act. Like this Swordsmith Village act is my favorite because
it's mine
of
too.
Mitsuri, Genya, Mitsuri, Tanjiro, and Mitsuri.
It was fun. The Sailor Moon antics were awesome, and yes, I actually liked Yuichiro or Muichiro's backstory. I thought that was that was good, and it wasn't too heavy in any other direction. The actual part that I got frustrated with is they do the thing where they quote unquote try to off Nezuko, and I'm like, no, not here. You can't do that here. It's me to feel sad right now. Why? But they kind of brought it back when it's like, okay, no, this is to make it so that Muzan is invested in the main character. Okay, all right. All right.
How do you feel about Anarchy?
Like I didn't even bother with watching season 3.
You didn't?
That's how hard reading the Demon Slayer manga ruined that series for me.
I'm sorry. No,
because I read it to
finish,
and now I'm just like so uninvested in like re-experiencing it which sucks because like that's why when I say like I wish I'd stayed anime only, I truly mean I wish I'd just stayed anime only because I have no desire to revisit the series.
No, I heard the final fight is pretty bad. Like Muzan, anything with Muzan, like I did not hear good things about it, and
so the final fight with Muzan is kind of I don't personally enjoy the Upper Moon 1 or 2. So basically, I got to UM3's like big battle, which obviously because he's an antagonist, he's gonna have a final battle. But like I got to the final fight with the Akaza, and then for me it was just downhill after. And like
me personally,
Akaza had a great story.
I like Akaza.
Yeah,
he's great.
And I did like. Okay, I compared the final battle with Muzan to like a JRPG final boss. It was like multiple phases and just a whole bunch of crazy stuff happening, and I'm into that, so I really liked it.
I'll see what the studio Ufotable does. I'm not gonna judge it, but I do know that reading Kimetsu no Yaiba was not like my favorite experience, which is why I dropped it, and I'm glad I dropped it when I did. Because
I will say, like, just to not spoil the ending just for people, because a lot of people I know here are anime only. I personally like the ending. I didn't like the final fight, but I like the ending. And obviously it's not a perfect series, but it does have a lot of fun. You can have a lot of fun with it, and Ufotable knows that. They know like how to make it just an entertaining experience. Because the fight with Daki and Gyutaro in the manga after it, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, but the anime just put it like to a next level. The same with the fight against the two moons in this fight, in this arc.
No, there is no way Mitsuri was as good in the manga as she is in the anime. Like, I haven't even seen her in the manga.
No,
but
she lives for animation. Like, she's so much better in the anime.
Yeah, no, there is no way that the manga could have topped that. Which, I mean, to be fair, the author wrote it. Like, I get it. Manga has limitations. I don't want to be overly mean on the author for not being able to draw off music, Sailor Moon antic flips, and all that. I don't blame them, but like, Ufotable. So sorry.
Everything they touch turns to gold. Like, it's insane. Like, if they want to keep ignoring their taxes, that's fine with me if we get this peak.
I'm
Yes.
sick.
Truly.
No, well, I remember one thing I saw about one of the season 3 episodes is like, well, like you can tell that they're paying taxes now, because I guess it was a more reserved episode. So I always thought that was funny.
But yeah, like, I mean, if people can keep enjoying it, good for them. Maybe someday I'll at least go back and watch the fights online or something. But
Give it time. Yeah, I understand. Like, there are manga that I've read that I'm like, I'm not gonna watch this. I'm glad I'm not reading JJK, because I just know I would not want to watch the anime based off of the manga.
I'm never gonna go back and watch TPN season 2.
No one is.
Like,
no one is. That
here's the
doesn't
thing.
exist, Aniki. That's not a real thing. What are you
Here's
talking
the thing, is
about?
that I never even gave TPN season 2 a first watch.
No.
Because I read
There's no
TPN.
season 2 though. There's no season 2.
I feel you. I get it, Thomas.
No, I agree. Like, there's not really a reason to watch season 2 because of what they did. Like, there's no way to justify it.
Like, I don't understand the decision making. It's like how I've never gone back and watched God of High School, even though I love God of High School.
Yeah.
I can't go back and watch it because it cuts so much shit out. And basically, if they hadn't done what they did with God of High School, and I've said this like 1,000 times, it could have been a fucking 100, 150 plus 200 episode series that people would have loved and adored.
One of my issues with God of High School was like, because it's a manhwa, so every chapter is so long that it's like, whenever I was reading it, I got really bored. But the anime had a chance to cut out like the filler and deliver how I felt reading like the beginning stages of that story, but they jam-packed everything into that season, and it just felt jarring. And I like the animation. I love the fights. I love like the blue dragon kick. Like that.
Yep.
That's what I wanted to see. But I don't know.
Look, if they had done it right, you guys would have gotten to see people throw planets. You would have seen people kick so hard that the sun.
They turn off the sun.
Like, there's so much cool stuff in God of High School that just doesn't get to happen because of the way they want.
I want to see the Mori Dan like plotline with a Han and Dean. Like, I want to see Ragnarok. I want to see so many cool scenes.
Daiwi versus Zeus. Let's see.
The Jade Emperor content is amazing. Like the Mira plotline as well.
The White Witch of the West.
Yes.
Even Suyin Lee versus Mori. Man, there was so much good stuff that could have happened that just didn't because of how they handled it.
Yeah, it kind of killed off its like chances of a season 2.
Like they nuked their chances at like carrying the story forward because they cut so much stuff. And Ilpio or Ilipo or however you say his name.
Ilpio, yeah.
Ilpio was one of the best characters.
You're spoiling God of High School.
What's up, Fonzie?
Don't do that to me. Literally, don't do
No,
that.
don't worry.
I didn't know
We
you
haven't
had it
spoiled
ready.
anything.
I just have to read the last 50 or 100 chapters of the last arc, because the last arc was quite long, if I remember well.
Oh yeah, the
Oh, it's
final
it was
battle was
huge.
long as hell. I love
Yeah,
it.
because
I
I
love
was
it.
at the I stopped at the marriage of Don White. I forgot the name. So the
Davey,
swords
yeah.
girl.
Yeah,
She
Dairy and
became
Mira.
then we mirror. Yeah, then we mirror. Yeah, I was at their marriage. So I don't know the rest of the story then. So please keep it easy. And I just wanted to say, I just wanted to say, this chapter was special. Damn.
Precious.
Rikoshi went up.
What's up, little baby?
He went off.
What's up,
Uh-huh.
little
Yeah,
baby?
or that you can't hear anymore. I will say that the Bakugo discourse is as annoying as ever. We were talking about power scaling earlier,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
and like, so people do that on MHA too, but with characters. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, you can tell people are just like insecure about their favorite. Like, if you thought the Hawks versus Twice discourse was annoying, the Bakugo versus Shigaraki discourse is another level of just I can't be bothered. Like, oh my gosh, please stop. They're both important. They're both pretty. Just stop, please.
Remember the is Bakugo a deuteragonist discourse that went
No,
around like the entire community?
it's still going.
It's still going. It's
Make
never
it
stopped.
stop. It's not that big a deal. Like, when Bakugo gets back up, he will. Let's face it, will. He's gonna do something, some kind of parting shot, some kind of narrative importance will happen with Bakugo. It's gonna happen. Like, and there, people are gonna be so pissed, calling it the worst thing ever. I can already see it, and I'm just like, no, I'm not gonna be on Twitter that week. Just
I still stand by what I said. Bakugo dying there does nothing good for his character. Because like I said, a character's death should like complete an arc for them. It should, like, Midnight died, but what did Midnight actually have left to contribute to the story?
Yeah.
in another.
You mentioned something really good, Aniki, about like Bakugo's death. Like, there's a positive with it where it acts like the death of Katsuki Bakugo and the rebirth of Dynamite. Like, this will be his, like, even if it's so late into the series, we're never going to see it. Like, we're going to see the Bakugo that was robbed from us at the age of 4 when everyone was just hyping him up.
Yeah.
I feel like that's somewhat of a positive, but everything else, like, it did not need to happen. Like, we didn't have to see him die. We could have had that, like, where he sees All Might. We could have had that really beautiful chapter and have him be knocked out for the count.
Well, he's technically not dead, is the thing. Like, his heart is stopped and they're trying to restart it. But I'm not gonna thread that for Horikoshi. I do think that was very over the top.
Mm-hmm.
His anime manga, we're kind of here for that kind of stuff, but I understand that not everyone's a fan of that kind of execution, figuratively or literally.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was what it was, but I do agree with Aniki. Like, in terms of MHA, like the themes set up, the revival, the comeback does work a lot better for the manga in the long run. Cutting his life short like that is tragic. It's a good tragedy, but not like a good conclusion for his arc, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And I think that's one of those things that people just don't like. If you feel like, damn, I didn't see that death coming at all about a main character, then it's not a good death.
Mm-hmm.
You should feel like, oh, like you should be able to go back and look at the situation and be like, yeah, it makes sense that, like, and I don't mean like, oh, well, Shigaraki said he was going to kill him, so that would made sense. Like, no, like you should feel like, oh, a character's getting closer. Like, you should be able to reread the story and like see the death flag somewhere.
Yes.
Like, All Might has had death flags popping up throughout the whole series. So if All Might dies, there's people who will be mad at it, but it's like, no, like we've seen this coming.
We had a
The
precedent.
characters-
All
if the
Might has so
characters
many
die-
death. All Might has so many death flags. He's practically communicating in semaphore.
Like, yeah. If like with it, for example, let's say even if Ochako dies here, it'd be pretty fucking weird to me because the character arc that she's had written for her does not function with her dead.
Okay, don't put that out there.
No, he right. He has to tell the truth to the masses. Like people pushing the whole, oh, is Uraraka gonna die? I can't believe it. I'm so worried. She's not gonna die because number one, that completely just shits on Toga's arc and her own. It also kind of shits on the story itself because she's so integral to the plot. Like her death means the death of the series, at least for me. At least that's how I feel. Like Bakugo dying would be less egregious. Like if Uraraka died, like that'd be more.
That into existence.
What, dude? At this
We'll
point, I'm gonna
put-
die before All Might. Don't speak that into existence.
We need that All Might pack ASAP.
Nah,
We do.
I'm hoping
Tell
for the All Might death. I'm hoping, but
I'm excited.
I don't know if it'll happen.
I feel bad for saying I'm excited because I love All Might, one of my favorite characters. But like, we also have All for One stat coming, so I'm excited for that too.
This actually reminds me of something I saw Pineapple say after because I quote tweeted Thomas, and I think Pineapple saw that and like hit it with the quote tweet.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, the character that's been training the entire series because he's had nothing. Because like, it does beg the question: what did y'all think All Might was jogging and lifting weights for?
I mean, you could make the argument, oh, he's doing it for his own health, but like there was always going to be another reason to it. Like I quote tweeted Pineapple, or was it you? I'm pretty sure I quote tweeted you. I'm like, this makes it like Hori has been telling us this was going to happen from the start. Like, do you think All Might was going to be content with staying in that like beside Sukaichi and like giving like advice to Okam? No. Like he was going to go out there no matter what, even if Sukaichi had to shoot him in the leg to make him not move. Like,
because, and that's the question too, is like, what part of All Might's character do you think finds it acceptable to do? Because here's the first war, I don't even know if he was looped into that conversation. But the second one, what part of anything we've seen out of All Might? Because you can say like, oh, Stain told him he needs to live. Stain told him that All Might goes beyond him. Stain was telling him that the legacy of All Might is more valuable than the actions of All Might himself.
Yeah, but the talk with Izar doesn't mean shit. Like that doesn't like mean anything. Because people bring out, Tyler made a good point. People bring that up too often. It doesn't.
He said, I decided to keep on living and I'm making peace with it and working on it. But like, that happened right before everything went to shit.
No, people with this narrative that self-sacrifice for a hero is bad. The manga has never said that. Like, not once has the manga ever suggested you should not risk your life to help someone. That is literally what every single person is there to do. That's how it starts, and that's how it's going to end. You risk yourself. That does not, and again, that also ties into how people misinterpret the Dark Hero arc. The arc is about societal roles and how should we treat each other? What is our relationship as heroes and civilians, people who save, protected? Like, it is a whole, and people get that all confused. It's like, yes, it should not be such that heroes are not allowed rest or respite, or you have to humanity of the hero, right?
Self-sacrifice in the story, for me in the story, is something that is, a hero does self-sacrifice because he chose for it. Like, it comes from love. And our main character for me, people like All Might and Deku had problems because they only saw their worth. They didn't saw, just like they didn't see their life as was worth it if they're not helping someone and if they have to die too. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's and
Your life
Rico,
just regardless of that.
yeah. There's a thing. The thing about it is like when you have to understand that your own life has value too, and it was and our main character always chose for he didn't take care of himself while trying to save someone. And it came, even All Might has that thing that he doesn't think about himself a little bit. And the fact that that was the first lesson of Aizawa say, if you hurt yourself like this, how can you save someone if you're not able to save yourself? You know what I mean? That was and and Haza was there in the beginning of the story to teach Deku that you have to understand that you have also some worth. You don't have to hurt yourself like this just to save someone. You have to find another way.
Mhm.
And that's the thing. Self-sacrifice is the ultimate thing to do, not the first thing to do. And that was because there's a whole other step when you self-sacrifice become your first or second step of doing before your last thing to do. And it came from different. I would say it comes from self-love or self-hate, depends on the character of people. And when you try everything, that was about trying everything to do as a hero. When you see that anything that you can do doesn't give you the doesn't give you the response that should be the right response, then you can think, okay, what is the last result I can do? If I have to self-sacrifice myself for the mission, I should do it. That's what I forgot her name. Miruko at the end when she was fighting the Nomos. She didn't went directly to sacrifice herself. She tried to solve the problem first. When she saw that she wasn't in the ability to finish what she was supposed to do on time, she went straight for the goal. If I have to die, I have to finish what's happening in front of there. I have to finish that before
Mhm.
I have to die. That's what I mean. And that is something that was something that Deku had to learn in this story, and even All Might a little bit. So yeah,
It's
that
the
was that.
yeah.
Yeah, you can finish it. You can finish it. Bro. You wanted to say something though?
Hold on. I got a super chat.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Go.
this reminds me of something I wanted to ask you, Aniki. If Bakugo stayed dead and then got nullified in a part 2, would that make it better in your eyes? Just curious, since it used to be your theory. I think if we specifically had emphasis on his body missing during the chaos, and then we got a part 2, that would do better for killing off Bakugo. Not because it was my theory though, but because it would actually add value to him dying. Because one of the things Tanisha asked is like, what does, like, usually like if a bully apologizes, there's like a cosmic price attached to that. The subversion here, and why it works for this subversion of that trope though, is usually when the bully apologizes, there's a full-blown conversation between him and the victim.
Mhm.
That happens, and there's like a full acknowledgement, acceptance, etc., or something to show that they have both as a unit worked past the situation. But what we got in Deku Black was Deku passing out right after receiving the apology, and it effectively getting backburnered, at least for us, the viewer.
Mhm.
And because that happened, we still have to actually address their dynamic at some point. And actually address why they didn't, like, him acknowledging Midoriya as a hero is one thing, but like the idea, to me at least, is that he needs to actually have that shot to prove himself beyond just like, well, he died, so
Mhm.
that means he was a hero. Like, to me, that's not like a good way to like showcase Bakugo's growth, because the next step is obviously for him to recognize that that retaliatory and that aggressive behavioral pattern is something that he carries forward in all walks of his life, and start to reel back that back in some too.
My counter to what Slum said is that, one, I agree with you, Anaki. They still need that talk, and that's been something I've been waiting for the most for the end of the series. Like, I need that talk, but also Bakugo becoming a Nomu and that being a plot point in part 2, if that ever was a thing, will be a rehash of what's happening with Kurogiri. Like, we're definitely going to get the what if Bakugo was a Nomu and Deku had to tackle that head on with Aizawa and President Mike. Would that solve the issue with Bakugo's death? Yeah, absolutely. But like, you'd have to remove that talk between, Kurogiri and Aizawa.
I
You
mean,
know, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. And honestly, I can't even begin to explain how awful an idea that is. Just no, absolutely garbage. Actually, no, this is like that Horikoshi is writing MHA and not Twitter, because no, there needs to be proper closure, and you don't have that with that setup. You really don't. Like, Bakugo dying, it can. I'm not saying there's no circumstance it cannot work. Like, if you're an author, you have all the total control over the framing. You can kind of just, make it happen. That's not what the MHA is not set up such that Bakugo becoming a Nomu is even remotely a good idea. It would be a shameless way to force a part 2. Like, you take your attachment to that character and stretch it out as long as possible just for content. You could do that. That sucks. I hate it. This is why I'm happy enough with MHA having just a part 1 and having it wrap up all the loose ends kind of in a somewhat satisfactory way, instead of dragging out for way too long. Because MHA could easily do that, but I would not be happy with it, because I fell out of love with One Piece and with Naruto and with Bleach, quite frankly, even though I still appreciate all 3 of them. But like, they went on too long. I'm glad that MHA will end with my attachment and like being fully invested in it. That is my thing.
And as far as Bakugo's next evolution goes from Tunisia, to me, it's more about, he's going to have he has the Endeavor journey, but we're kind of going to get to see Bakugo. Like, Bakugo to me exists to be, what if Endeavor had figured out his shit before he became an adult? So instead of it being because we've had that like comparison point made multiple times. And to me, we see Bakugo possibly have a family. Whether or not that actually happens or not is a whole other thing. But the idea of him like maybe becoming a teacher, excelling at and being a better teacher than Deku, because there's ways that he can still be one of the greatest and strongest heroes and like teach and pass that knowledge on and make himself a better role model, and be somebody who can help people who are on those more flawed paths in their heroism to find a better path earlier. So to me, like, obviously I could see any of the kids at 1A being a teacher, but I think the best candidate for being a teacher is Bakugo. And I think his long-term plan, like goal writing, is to just make him somebody who gets ahead of the problem for other people. And we kind of saw that with the kid who might have been quirkless during the remedial course arc.
I was about to bring that up. That was like the precursor to your idea, like how Bakugo handled the situation with that, like, the head of the kids. Like, that was exactly what was necessary. Even if Bakugo's ideas of let's beat up the kids was a bit too drastic, which it was, Bakugo still managed to help that kid, help him break out of that shell.
And yeah, you call it the road less traveled brought for Endeavor, one where he's actually at peace, not being the strongest, but is still working on being the best he could have been. Because Explosion Full Cowling is still going to take him really far as a hero.
Oh, for sure.
He's like, he's going to be like a healed Engie, but from the time that Engie was like 18. Which the other thing we can also say is that the trauma that Engie got that really heavily pushed him into his obsession with being strong came at the point where Bakugo is healing from his mental issues. So they're also their events are a little swapped, but it is what it is in that regard. I am gonna start wrapping this up so I can put this baby down and let her sleep and whatnot. So I'm gonna go around the horn, gather the final thoughts. Bonzu, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still there.
Let's get your final thoughts.
So great chapter. I really love what Hakushi did with the character interacting. I always loved Himiko Toga's character, the way the conflict that she brought with her, the teams and everything. And when you talk about her addiction to blood, because we can call it an addiction to blood, we can talk about addiction, how people are seen when they're addicted to some stuff, and how people see them and how people react to them, how to deal with that in every day. Next to this, we get also the fact that when you don't see yourself as someone who's normal, all these themes, I really love the character in general, the concept of the character, the fact that she's seen as a vampire, like a modern style of the vampire, a little bit, I would say like this. Horikoshi really did something amazing with her. Next to this, we get Uraraka as a female character. She, not as a female character, as a character, she showed that she's a hero, another type of hero than Deku, Bakugo, and the rest of the cast. She made a mistake as a person because we are humans, and because she really is a hero that like to want to see the people smile. She she thought, and she went back to to, to talk with Toga and try to connect with her. She's doing her trying to do her best, and this unlocked a new facet in her in her power. She always had the ability to do it, and she used it because it came from an I'll say from the feeling from her heart. So yeah, beautiful storytelling, beautiful characters, beautiful art, and 10 on 10 for me. Thank you, and like the video. Well, my sister is screaming right now. It's really weird. So yeah, thank you for everything, and subscribe to the channel of Aniki. Thank you. Bye.
Joseph, final thoughts?
All right, this was a really good chapter. The art especially was amazing. Like all the twists, I don't know how he does it. But yeah, I am really happy to see the developments, especially with her quirk, and Gunhead's getting the love that he deserves.
All right. Let's see. Giorno.
Sorry about that. Said it already. This chapter's peak. Chaco's the GOAT. Looking forward to next week, and thanks for having me on.
All right. Let's see. Who do I want to say that next? Let's see. Who's next? Let's go, Seth.
Yo. All right. Can everyone hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
I can,
Good.
yeah.
All right. Sorry about that. I always have to check now. Anyways, thanks for having me on. I'm glad I got to talk at length today. So let's see. As far as the chapter itself goes, everyone has already said their piece of how awesome it is. I just really want to appreciate again how well everything has flowed together. So many individual pieces throughout the entire manga have come in, whether it's Deku versus Todoroki or well, just a lot of Deku moments in general. The way they were able to funnel that both into Ochako, but for her to express it in a very unique way as well. Re-delivering the series message, but framed properly within the context of the characters. It sounds really easy to do, but honestly, I know it's very difficult, and I'm just very impressed, as always, because MHA is quote unquote predictable. Like we all know kind of how the story is supposed to go, but the execution is just so good, and it does not fail to deliver here at all. So I'm very moved by the messaging. It's a very delicate subject, like how to properly help someone, what are the proper commitments to make. And MHA is not hand waving anything. It would be so easy just to give a good speech and change people's perspectives then and there. But change does not come easy. It does not come without sacrifice of some sort. And it has to come from a personal level too, where everyone is trying their best. Success or not, MHA makes sure that that does not go to waste. Obviously, it's idealistic. It's not like on the whole realistic, but it's also just correct in my view. Like that is, it's such a good message, and I'm so happy that it's being delivered this way. I honestly just was not sure how Horikoshi would land it, given I know he has health issues, and I know there's a lot of easier routes to take, but Horikoshi himself is not taking them. So my total applause to the author. Hats off. Thank you. And congratulations on the 9th anniversary. Awesome to have been here experiencing this ride for so long. And I'm so happy to share it with everyone. So thanks again for having me. And I hope my mic held up all the way through.
Hey, it did. Your final words, it came through for you there.
Yes.
All right. Thomas, final
Hello.
words.
Just like Seth said, like My Hero is on its 9th anniversary. It turned 9 years around Wednesday or Thursday, I believe. And I got into series when I was 14, same age as Deku, and I attached myself to him. Like he's my favorite character. But I didn't expect to love Uraraka the way that I do, especially because now that we're here, now that we're at the climax of our arc, at like the climax of this confrontation with Toga, it's just perfect. Like Uraraka has not failed to prove all the haters and all the people who push the Hori's a misogynistic or he's misogynistic take, because it's not true. It's still funny to see people try to push that, but you know, they're fighting a losing battle. This war may have had its like ups and downs, may has had its flaws, but like this chapter really showed how great Horikoshi is as a writer and how great this arc is. And now that we're at the end of the fight, we all know like there's going to be something next chapter that may change the tides, but I assume next chapter will be the end. And if it is, I'm happy. We've ended it off on on the right foot. Now we have a few more battlefields to do. Sero's moment still hasn't came. We have Aoyama's fight with Fat Gum versus Kunoida. We also have Gashley, who hasn't shown up yet, which I'm excited about, but I'm more excited about what's going to happen with Deku. So until we get that, I'm going to be waiting happy, because if every chapter from now on is as good as this, oh my lord, this war will be one of the best arcs in the entire series. But until then, I'm driving. I'm happy. I'm just like Giorno. Giorno loved this chapter, and I'm glad to see that. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Like the stream. Take care of yourselves, everyone, and I'm out.
Thank you, everybody that came through, whether it's in the live chat or in the stream itself. Appreciate everybody who took the time, and I hope everybody enjoyed the chapter. And we'll see you all next week, where we'll discuss the MHA chapter and whatever the hell else pops into our heads or is the flavor of the week or moment. Appreciate you all. Thank you.